Hey, the pizza guy is here.
Oh, hold on my beer. Let me go get some cash. Yeah, so cash, right? That's something we have never talked about, right?
Yeah, do you really want to make the pizza guy wait outside?
Oh, okay. Wait. I'll give the cash, by the time you can introduce what the episode is all about.
Welcome to another episode of Writer and Geek Show. This is your host Vishnu, and Shankar has just gone out to pay the pizza delivery guy, and he'll be back soon. Today we are going to talk about something that is very important in our lives. We are going to talk about the history and origin of money.
Hey, I'm back. Look at these pizzas. You want to take a bite, or should we record and then do it?
I think if I am sure that our listeners are not that much into ASMR that they want to hear our chewing sounds and stuff.
Probably they can hear me drinking beer and get that ASMR feel. Well, that rhymed. Anyway, so we are going to talk about money. And to start with, we all use money on a daily basis, right? And it's something which is like an integral part of our life, because whatever we do, wherever we go, we need money.
Yeah, sometimes when I look into my finances, I don't feel like using them on a daily basis, but you got no choice.
That's what happened, when I first thought about doing an episode on money. The idea came from when I was like going through my finances. I was like, okay, this is really pathetic. Probably I should research about it and get more ideas on how to manage it and all that. Then I heard one episode we had done with Naga and the one he did with Rupan, and actually kind of those are like great episodes, but being who I am, it kind of didn't work. So I had to dig deeper and kind of figure out where it all came from to get an idea, how much it matters in our life.
Well, something that I've learned in a hard way is that nobody can teach you about, why you should do finances and stuff. It should come from inside. You have to start feeling that yourself. Otherwise, it's never going to happen.
Oh, so you're saying that passion and, managing money is almost kind of similar things. Well, we'll drop that there and let's just give a brief description about how money works. So,
it's easy, right? You want something, you give money, you get the stuff.
No. I didn't mean it like that. How you exchange money and get commodities and, services and all that. I mean, where does this thing come from? Like, how does it work right now? Like, who prints money and how it's valued? On what basis it's valued? So, when you look into the Federal Reserve, which US have, like, we all trade on the basis of US dollars, right? The whole world, almost all around the globe, everything is based on, compared with US dollars. So how the Federal Reserve, even Indian rupees work is like, you have a reserve of gold, and based on its value is how currency is printed. Mm-hmm. So that's how the basic thing works right now.
So does it mean that if I have a bit of gold, can I start printing currency tomorrow?
No, it doesn't mean that, because the gold you have, it's taken in a sense that you have paid for the gold to the reserve and you have taken it from the reserve. So the money is already with the bank or whichever institution it is with. So the gold you have with you is actually something you have borrowed from the reserve. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's not like you own it, but it's with you. That's all.
So it's like a rented gold or something?
Yeah, kind of like that. I'm not the person who is like well versed to explain it, but I think I have.
We can probably try to get the Reserve Bank governor on the show someday.
That'll be really nice. Or at least an ex-governor, right? Yeah. So, now that we know a little bit about money, let's go back and look into like how things worked before there was any money or like any medium of exchange or something like that. Because
so we'll be going like 65 million years ago when dinosaurs ruled the earth.
Okay, not that much, because we are talking about the human age, right? When we came into existence.
So when the exodus happened from Africa and people started.
Yeah, those kind of stuff, around that. Even like probably like 10,000 years back, there was no currency system which existed. So a little before that or something like that, like when money didn't exist. So back then there was no idea of the notion of, owning something. There was no right to like property or like rules and regulations when it came to like all the resources we had in the world. Like whoever claims it, they can use it and, be happy with that. So if you like So back in the days, before all this money concept came up, people used to hunt and forage for food. So, and to live, they used to like build houses using wood, or like they used to live in caves. So there was no like there was no idea of right to property and all that. So whoever gets there first, they own it. And if you're a stronger person, you can just go and hit them with the stone, or like beat them up with your hammer and own it. So that was the idea. But later on, when people started spreading to like different parts of the world, and there was this right to property, like whoever goes there, they own it, and they have family, and all those system came into existence. That's where people started getting this idea, like, why don't we just exchange what we have to get some other commodity that we need from others? So that's where this barter system came into existence. So it is said that this barter system came into existence back in like 6000 BC, which is like around 8,000 years back. And the earliest form of barter system, it consisted of, exchanging livestock, which is like sheep, cattle, vegetables, and even grains. So this was first found in like Egyptian culture. It's kind of becoming a trend where you like, you find out that things started happening in Egyptian, and it's like developed, I think spread into other countries.
Yeah,
right?
Egyptians were like those cool tribes where, they innovated and they were always ahead of everything else. I think Egypt was present day MIT or Harvard University or something like that.
Okay, that's a great comparison. They were like way, ahead of their times. Yeah. Even the Harappa, Mohenjo-daro civilization too. But I don't know what kind of system existed there. Probably it was barter, but I couldn't find anything on that. So Egyptians were the first one to like use barter systems, and they used to use livestock trade. And this concept spread into other parts of the world, especially like the Mesopotamians and Phoenicians. And they kind of, and even the Babylonians. They kind of improved the system from where it came from. Like from the Egyptians, they improved it, and it became a norm like across the world for people to use this system to do trade.
Babylonia is so vividly described civilization. I think even in the Bible, I guess. I know it was famous for its hanging gardens. That doesn't mean the gardens were literally hanging. It was like a terraced structure where they had all this trees and other plants growing
Creepers?
out of them. Yeah, mostly like that.
Yeah.
That was because I think one of the kings got married to a princess from a far off land, and she started feeling homesick because her land was they had a lot of gardens and stuff.
There are a lot of creepers, you mean?
So the king built a beautiful garden for her so that she doesn't feel homesick.
Was he the Nebuchadnezzar? The king?
Nebuchadnezzar is the king who used to dream a lot, isn't it?
I'm not really sure. Well, if you don't know, if you haven't heard of the name Nebuchadnezzar, you can just check out The Matrix and you'll come to know about it. So, So they improved it, and the exchange and the commodities used for exchange, it changed from just livestock to like food, tea, weapons, and spices. And in some places, even human skulls were used to trade in the barter system.
What good is human skull?
I don't know. Maybe it's like showing off your masculinity.
What?
Like,
so you are exchanging your masculinity for something else. And that's something that I wouldn't want to do.
Yeah, so that's how it improved. And during the times of the Roman Empire, salt became a major trade commodity in the barter system. And it is said that the soldiers were even paid through salt.
Nice.
So it's kind of weird, right? Think about it. The soldier takes a sack of salt.
It starts raining the next day.
And it starts raining. Yeah. So what would happen?
So you're not allowed to make, sweet and salt lime juice and stuff, I think, in Roman times, right?
I have no idea, because that's the kind of currency they use, like probably.
Because you're not supposed to destroy your nation's currency. So making lemon juice might lead to your execution.
No. It was not like currency. It was used for barter system.
Okay.
So like in World War times, and even in prison these days, tobacco or like cigarettes are used as a thing which you can exchange to get whatever favor or like whatever commodity you want, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of such things are depicted in that, what is that series called Prison Break?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good in the first season. Then afterwards,
Even the second season you can watch, but after that,
a lot of series are ending in a really
What about the last season? I haven't watched it. The one they came out.
So there was this. Okay,
time.
so what happened was there was this last season, which was the fourth season. And there was a feature film length episode that they released which showed some stuff. And at the end of that, this main character called Michael Scofield, and this is going to be a spoiler. So if you have not watched this show, please stop here and you can move forward a little bit and start listening. So what happens is the show's main character Michael Scofield is, they don't show him dying, but it's understood that he meets his end, right? What happens, and recently, I think 2 years back, they revived the show for another season where somehow he ends up in a prison in Middle East or something like that.
Okay, so I haven't watched it. Am I missing something?
I don't think so.
No, right? So good.
It's like season 8 of Game of Thrones. So
that bad?
Probably not, but
okay.
You are not. See, I think people who are very passionate about Game of Thrones, watching till end of season 7 is okay, and then you can just stop and imagine a good ending for your story. That is the best thing you can do. You can just stop watching it, say season 7.
Or if the books come, you can read it probably. Let's see.
But again, that we don't know how he's gonna end it up. I'm sure that he's gonna do a good job at that.
Okay, let's come back. So Romans started using salt in the barter system, and they started paying the soldiers in the form by giving them salt, which is like really funny. And during the Middle Ages, Europeans traded crafts and fur, then silk and perfumes. These became like major commodities of trade during the barter system. And even musket balls, wheat, and deer skins were used during colonial age, where the Europeans, especially the Britishers, used to go to America and do trade. So so barter system kind of like thrived during that time, but there were like so many disadvantages. Even though there are like advantages, like you actually don't need any money to exchange trade. Even then, when they didn't have the concept of money, that's one of the advantages. Then like there was like flexibility when it came to like trade. You can trade anything for anything. So if you have a cat, you can trade it for like probably grains.
Yeah, provided there is a need somewhere.
Yeah, I'll get into the disadvantages in a moment. And it does not have to be a material item. You can
exchange for services.
If you're a plumber and you need some food or something, you can go and fix probably a broken toilet and then get food in exchange. So like that's one of the advantages of barter system.
Well, toilet and food in a single line.
Something I would not want to say for the rest of my life.
I think Nikesh got that right in his story.
Yeah. What was that? That was pee and taste.
Was that something? Yeah, something.
Yeah. So coming to the disadvantages, like there was like no legitimacy when it came to like a trade and barter system. Because you exchange something and the other person says, okay, I'll give you the thing you wanted tomorrow. And the next day you go there and ask him like, hey, give me the thing you promised. And he'll be like, what thing? You didn't give me anything. Why am I supposed to like give you back something? So there was no like legitimacy when it came to barter system. And it depends on trust. Totally on trust. So the second thing is that there is a chance that you might end up getting something bad in exchange of something that you had, which is good. So like, for example, you want a car and you have a bike. So you exchange the bike for a car and you end up knowing that the car is absolute shit. So those kind of things can happen.
Yeah, when you say car in this context of, middle and early ages, the kind of car that comes to my mind is the one that Flintstones uses in the cartoon series.
So how would bike be right back then?
Would be the same concept.
Yeah. Also, there's like no measure of value for what you exchange. So if you're exchanging like probably 1 sack of sugar and you get like 5 grains of wheat, what is the point?
I think that's what it is. Like if I just own chicken or a cat or a goat or something, and in exchange, can I go and ask a cow? I don't know, because that depends on whether the other guy really needs the stuff.
Yeah. And that's one thing. Like there's a need for like double coincidence of wants. That's the thing you were talking about.
Right.
So when you want to get something, the other person also need to have like the need to give that thing which you want.
That is also one of the problems, and this other issue that I mentioned, right? Inability to create fractions.
Yeah.
Right. If I have a big thing and I cannot exchange it with a small thing because I feel the trade is going to be uneven. And which is one of the things which was highlighted in this ancient story of Jack and the Beanstalk, if you remember how the story went. So Jack's mom has financial issues and he sends Jack to the market with their cow so that he can sell the cow and get something else in return. And he ends up selling the cow to a guy who says he has magic beans. When he comes back, his mom shouts at him, saying that, you're being an idiot and you have exchanged a big cow for these beans. And she becomes frustrated and she throws it out of the window. And you know the rest of the story, right?
I hope you do, but if you don't, you can go check it out. It ends well. That's all you have.
Not for everyone, though.
Yeah. Let's not go there. Yeah. So it's like, in Game of Thrones, Cersei didn't get her elephants.
Right.
The same kind of thing, and she had to sacrifice a lot for that, even though she didn't get the elephants. So because of these disadvantages, there came a need for a standard to be there so that you can compare it with that and then make all these exchanges. That's when currency came into existence. Yeah, it was not like they started with paper currency. And the first type of currencies, it came into existence back in almost 3,000 years ago. And as always, our Egyptian counterparts, one of the most underrated people developed it, the Chinese. So they are the ones who came up with the idea of having a standard for exchange, and they started using casts made out of bronze in the form of cutlery, arrows, spears, daggers, and spades and all that.
So that means if you are very rich and you're not careful about your money, you're gonna die.
You may get impaled.
Your sword and arrow-shaped coins will be piercing your body. Then
So the idea was
who came up with that?
I don't know. See, what I'm thinking is the idea was to make miniature things out of the things you use on a daily basis.
Yeah, you have many other things, right, which are not sharp and edgy.
No, see, they had to try, right? Even these
make
when you make
miniature
a new technology,
miniature plate that becomes a coin.
Miniature cutlery, they have made plates also, but the thing is it was not feasible to have different kinds of shapes and shapes which hurt you and all those kind of stuff. So that's how it started. The basic idea of currency, the Chinese came up with that 3,000 years back, where they started making gold casts out of bronze. And as you said, it started impaling people. So they were like, okay, this is not working out. And they made a standard shape in the form of coins. And that's how coins came into existence. And it was not like the government started printing it. It was, banking institutions and banks and other institutions which were controlling the printing of all these coins. And but the first known currency, the legal currency, it came in the form of a roaring lion coin in the kingdom of Lydia, and it was approved by King Alietus.
So that was a Lannister coin, roaring lion coin.
Kind of So this kingdom of Lydia is present-day Western Turkey. So that's where this first legal currency came into existence in the form of a roaring lion coins. And because of that, their economy improved. That's what they're saying. And as they were, becoming economically stable and becoming prosperous, the Persians came and invaded them. So even before they could, prosper as much as they hoped to, the kingdom collapsed and the coin again went back to oblivion. And at the same time, the Chinese, they started improving, and by 700 BC, the Tang and the Song dynasties, they started, printing paper currencies too.
Mm-hmm.
But this were like not like valid permanently. Like these paper currencies were valid only for a small period of time,
Right.
so that they can stop people from counterfeiting it.
Mhm.
So Chinese were the ones who were like far ahead of their times. And if a fun fact, like in the American notes, right, dollar bills, they've written something saying like "In God We Trust," right?
Yeah.
You know what the Chinese used to write?
I
back
think
then?
I've read about it. It's along it's along the lines of if you counterfeit, you'll be killed or something like that.
Yeah, it says all counterfeiters will be decapitated.
Wonderful.
Not just killed; they'll be like their head will be just
Yeah,
chopped out.
it's like Ross's small note on his sandwich. It will keep them from doing it.
Yeah, Phoebe's idea. Well, at the same time, in India, not the same time, like approximately same time. we
Okay.
started using-
When you say same time, I'm not thinking that
Yeah.
the moment they came out with the currency, there is one guy standing on the other side of Himalaya saying that, hey, they have launched it. Let's do it right now.
Oh, yeah. So in India, they started using silver and gold mashup of coins. And you must have heard about the story of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, right? What
The
kind of
story
stuff
where he
did.
very intelligently changed his capital. Is that the story?
Okay, so he's known for like 3 stupid decisions that he made. The first one is, of course, changing the capital from Delhi to Daulatabad, and then again from Daulatabad back to Delhi. So he made all the people from Delhi to move to Daulatabad, and when he came to know that it's not working out, they made the move back again.
Yeah, and I think it was not a simple movement as well. He kind of punished the people who didn't want to move, tied them to the back of the horse and dragged them all the way to the Deccan. And, he left all the people who were handicapped and all that kind of thing happened. That's why it was a cruel move which happened, and then he reversed it.
Yeah, so that's what happened. Like one of the stupid decisions he made was that, and the other one relates to coin, which is like he made coins which are made out of bronze, and the funny thing was like the value given to that coin was actually lesser than the actual value of the bronze which was used to
Wow.
make that coin.
Right. So as a good citizen, all I need to do is melt the coin and sell it to someone else.
Yeah, sell it to someone else to get more coins.
Exactly.
So it was like
So I become a master of coins.
Yes. So it's like one of the most profitable business you could do back then. And it took him some time to realize that. And
Of
correct it.
course.
Yeah. So I don't remember the third stupid thing he did. I don't remember.
I think we can probably do a mini episode on
Yeah. So these are he did 3 stupid things. One of them was based out of the capital thing, and the second one was the coin thing. So yeah, that's how we progressed during that time. And these, as I said, back then empires used to use coins made out of like silver and gold alloys. And during the 7th century AD till like the 12th century, the medieval Islamic empire, the world, they were like trying to improve their economy, and they started using this currency called dinar, which still exists, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Dinar has such a long history.
Yeah. You'd be like fascinated. Like we can actually do a separate episode on the banking system which was used by the Middle East.
Yeah.
Because-
In the desert, I don't know. For some reason, they have. I think they were also a little bit ahead of their times. If you see this, whatever you're mentioning, all the banking systems. I think the coffee culture also came up in Arabia. So that's kind of fascinating. I mean, they were on the way to a very modern kind of a society even those days.
You won't believe it. They were the first ones to like come up with credit checks, savings account, transactional account, promissory notes, and the ideas of loans and deposits and all that.
Ooh.
You know why that happened? It's because Mecca is the holy place, right?
Right.
And people from across the Middle East, they had
Travel.
to like travel from
Yeah.
here to there. And people used to carry their coins or like whatever currency they had with them. And there was this huge chance of them getting robbed or like killed just because they had money.
Robbed or losing their stuff.
That's how this banking system came into existence.
So I think
in
it's like
Islam world.
I think if I remember right, in a crude way, it was like you deposit your money to the bank, you get a slip
Promissory
or
note
something.
like that. Yeah.
You go to a bank near Mecca and you just give it to them and they give you some coins.
Yeah. So that's like very, think about 7th and like 12th century.
Yeah.
That's like so ahead of their time.
It
right?
is. It absolutely is.
Yeah. So that's how the Middle East progressed in on the basis of currency and banking and all this kind of systems. And by 1271 AD, Chinese, they had like set up their currency into like a proper form, and they started printing currency, paper currency, which were not temporary and which were like more like a permanent thing.
Wow.
And that's also the same time when Marco Polo visited China, and he was like fascinated not just because of the spices and the pearls and all that. Even the monetary system actually surprised him. So they were way ahead of our times.
And he's the one who brought Gobi Manchurian to Italy, right?
Did he? I have no idea.
Of course, he was the guy who bought Gobi Manchurian.
What is it? Gobi Manchurian, an Indian thing. Yeah.
I have a lot of people who believe that Gobi Manchurian is actually a Chinese invention.
Right? Yeah, I know.
First thing they do when they go to a Chinese restaurant is, hey, do we have Gobi Manchurian?
The funny thing is like the Chinese we get here is not the actual Chinese.
Yeah.
Compared to the food we get here as Chinese, the actual Chinese is very bland. And they eat all kinds of meat, right?
I think that's that depends on regions as well. There are places where they use a lot of chilies and stuff like that and sauces.
What I've heard is like it's the rural areas where people use all those kind of things.
Yeah.
And they eat all kinds of meat too.
Yes. Rice is also a staple for them.
Rice, yes. And so Marco Polo.
All our listeners, if you think Gobi Manchurian is a Chinese invention, it's not.
Yeah.
It's an Indian dish. Much like what is the thing that Britishers invented?
Butter chicken.
Not butter chicken.
Tikka masala. What?
Chicken tikka masala. Chicken tikka masala sounds very much like something that was invented in Bombay or something that was invented in Mumbai or somewhere, but it happens to be something that was invented in Britain.
The same way, samosa. We think that it's an Indian dish.
Is it an Arabian dish?
Samosa, it uses aloo, which is potato.
Ireland.
Potato is not something which was like inherent. Potatoes and onions were not something which were like grown in India. It came from, Europe and all those countries. And samosa kind of things were actually, it came from Turkey and around that.
Nice. So we should do an episode on the history of food.
There is already an episode on that which is done by Amit Verma in the Seen and the Unseen. Yes.
I think the best thing for us to do is to listen to that and direct all our listeners to that episode. I don't think we can do a better job.
We'll be like, okay, this is the episode we are going to do today. Exactly. And you can check out the whole content and the Seen and the Unseen. Yeah. So, so that's the Chinese. And in Africa, they used to use this Manila rings. Back in like 15th century, the colonial people, they used to use Manila rings for slave trade.
What is Manila?
Manila rings, even I didn't have much idea. So what I found out is like, it's like actual rings, which probably looks like, the earrings.
What is it made of?
It's made of metal. Okay. Any kind of metal. And it still exists, but it's not used as a currency, but it's used as, decorative items and all that kind of thing. So back then in the 15th century, the colonial powers used to use it to like trade slaves in Western Africa. Even though Chinese and some of the world, other parts of the world, even in Middle East, they had started using paper currency. The Europeans didn't start using paper currency till the 17th century, around 1661. It was the Swedish who started minting paper currency and using it. These paper currencies, they could exchange for gold and silver coins in the bank. So basically, the banks used to be the ones who used to regulate the printing of currencies, and not the government as such, which is what is seen in the present world. And the first issuance of paper currency in America happened in Canada. The North American continent happened in Canada when the colonial people, they needed to have money for trade at times when they were secluded there, right? So if you run out of money in America, they had to wait for another ship to come from Europe and deliver the money to them. So to fix this, they started giving these institutions and banks in North America set up by the colonial world to print paper currency there. So that's how paper currencies came into existence in North America. Yeah, so it actually helped in international trade because cash was readily available when traders needed to trade commodities. So that's what happened in American continent. And over the years, paper currency became the standard because it was, compared to coins, it was lightweight. And you can carry a lot with you. And coins, if you're like using coins, storage would be an issue. Yeah, it kind of became like the basic currency which is used across the world. And coming to the 20th century and all that, there was a issue which came up right after World War First, where all the countries, European countries, they started printing money without taking into account how much reserve they had. So this led to inflation, which is one issue which most of the people don't know, right? Where I've seen like many people saying that, dollar rate, Indian rupee rates compared to dollar is very less. So why don't we just print more money to make it,
I think that is what many companies, that is what many countries in Europe did at the time, especially Germany as well. They started printing so much money that inflation rates went so high. I think $1 was equivalent to 4 billion, or some huge number of mark. Germany used mark at that time. And people who had, let's say, a few dollars with them, they suddenly had this huge amount of piles of cash that they were even using for putting it into the fireplace to warm their rooms and using it as pillows and beds and whatnot. And to buy a loaf of bread, you need to bring a truckload of money. That's how it was.
Yeah. So basically, you need enough reserve of gold in your gold reserve, wherever it is, to print, the standard amount of money. So if you just print more money, compared to that reserve you have, the value of money decreases. Right. That's how it works. So the next time you ask someone, why don't we print more money to, match up with dollar and all that, this is the issue. What happens, the more money you print, the lesser the value of the money will become. So, and this issue of inflation, this recently happened like in Zimbabwe, where $1 was like around like 1 billion.
Wow.
$1 was like 1 billion their currency and all that. So yeah, it's a prevalent thing where countries have like printed more money just to like compensate the value of reserve they have. But it does not work out that way. So over the years, we use paper currency, but recently after the coming of internet and all that, there have been a switch to the digital, world where we use digital currencies through virtual banking, and you have mobile payment and all that. And most recently, we have come across Bitcoin, right? Which was we still don't know who founded Bitcoin, right?
That's a mystery.
Yeah, like the guy goes with the pseudonymous name as what is that? Satoshi Nakamoto, right?
Yeah, we did one episode on this.
Yeah. So things have changed. Like recently, because of all these technological advancements, we do not really use paper currency as we used to use in earlier days, because digitalization has properly changed everything. But it's more like convenience right now, right? When it comes to money.
Yeah.
And so that's where we are right now.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. And as usual, all the social media links are on our website. Reach out to us, give us feedback on how we did. And before I end, if any of my dear listeners, you want to start a podcast of your own, our friend Bijay Gautam of Inspiring Talk has put together a wonderful course on A to Z of podcasting. You should go and check it out today. Take the course if you're really interested in podcasting, and I'm sure that you'll not regret it. The link to his course is in the description or in the show notes. Please go and check it out today. Shout out to my friend Bijay. He's an excellent podcasting coach and he's the podcast man of India. Go check it out and take the course and become a podcaster.